Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Vern Glenn, Russell Jackman, and FP Santangelo Jr. just joined us.
Right.
Oh, we got the whole team here today.
We're at full strength.
Let's see here. At each commercial break, we're going to ask a sports trivia question, and Russell had asked that we shift from baseball to football, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to ask some football questions today. All right. When we come back, got a few topics to cover. Still, again, the Live Golf Tour is still kind of right there in front of you in the news.
Yeah, big day today. Tiger's speaking to the boys today.
Yeah.
In Delaware. Big one.
Big one, yeah, exactly. Also wanted to see what you guys thought about Dion Sanders' comments about the Hall of Fame.
I got some thoughts about that.
Yep. And then Tatis getting an 80-game suspension, half the year for PED.
Wow.
And talk about whether or not steroids does pay. You know, I don't know.
Oh, no, he's paying. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's definitely a topic to consider. All right, this segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, providing mortgage investments that are currently yielding, get this, 7, 8, or 9%, depending upon how much. I know. They're picking up you know, it's funny. Last week, I was supposed to pick up a check for $1 million from a prospective client, and this guy actually wrote a check for $3 million. And
you had in your hands.
Yeah. The check for
$3 million.
$3 million. And he called back less than 4 days later and said, you know, and this is before he's even got his first check. And he says, can I add another $1 million to that? Okay. You know, sure. I mean, you know, listen, where else can you get 9%?
We need to talk what that's like, you know, holding that kind of money in your hand.
Chump change, eh?
All right.
All right, stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown, along with Vern Glenn, FP Santangelo Jr., and Mr. Russell Jackman. We have to call him Mr. Russell Jackman because he is.
Why?
Why? Because
Russell
you're
Jackman
the only
Esquire. Yeah, no, it's Russell Jackman Esquire.
Esquire. There you go.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Actually, Russell, you wanted to. You thought you weren't going to be able to make it today because you thought you'd have a court date. But by the way, he was not in court because of something bad he did. It was going to be because of someone he was going to represent.
It's just a routine, like a hearing that got rescheduled.
Hearing.
But,
okay.
Yeah, I did want to start off the topic, if I may, with the passing of Judo Gene LaBelle, who was, without a doubt, the greatest wrestler that ever came from the United States. He was the first American to win a judo championship in Japan. And he was, he taught every stuntman that pretty much did any stunt work, fight work from the 60s all the way to like the late, he taught Ronda Rousey how to fight. Wow. And he taught Roddy Piper how to fight. And he was on the cover of Black Belt magazine and Inside Kung Fu and karate and, all the other martial arts magazines because of what he knew about wrestling and all of his skills in it. And the other big trivia point of him was that he was the referee in the very ill-fated Antonio Inoki versus Muhammad Ali wrestling versus boxing match, which was sort of the precursor to today's modern MMA. And he fought in the first MMA contest that they had. So anyway, that's the passing of Judo Gene LaBelle.
He's goated. Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Russell, while we're talking about it, wasn't Mr. Fuji Odd Job from Goldfinger?
No, that is Professor Pat. That was Professor Pat Tanaka.
Oh,
who was Toru Tanaka, who was he fought with Mr. Fuji and won a tag team title with him. But I met him once at a Pacific Pro Wrestling event in San Jose in the early 80s. A very quiet, understated man, but just built like a large house, you know, sideways. I mean,
I feel like I need to
really,
explain this to FP Jr.
Oh, I know who Oddjob is.
From Goldfinger, would take off the hat. And,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. All right.
You know why?
He only did that once.
Yeah, that was
that's funny.
Well, I know
Toru
that
Tanaka.
in video games, I'd play as him because you could choose him as a character. You could wear the hat.
Nice.
Actually, you know who I always liked was Kinji Shibuya. Remember him?
Oh yes, with the kendo stick.
Yeah.
He would whap people with the with that long bamboo stick, which if you get whacked by it is not a lot of fun. So, you know, that's
I just saw a guy the other night. I forget what his name was, but in the Bond film Moonraker,
yeah,
Bond Roger Moore is wandering around, and then this guy in full gi with a helmet had the little stick thing and tried to, you know, take out Bond,
yeah.
but Bond was able to get out of it. So to speak.
Richard Keel. You know, it's funny if you go back.
Jaws. Richard Keel.
Yeah, Richard Keel playing Jaws. So yeah, it's funny because Richard Keel, the first time that I think you ever really see him is in the old Wild Wild West. He was Voltaire. Remember Miguelito?
It was like 7 feet tall, man.
Yeah, he is. He literally is 7 feet something. He's like 7'4" or something. And then he ends up being Samson in The Longest Yard.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Who in the remake is played by Dilip, right?
The guy that I managed.
Yeah.
Dilip
Yes.
Singh. The great Kali.
The great
the
Kali.
guy that I managed when he was in AP All Pro Wrestling. So all comes full circle here, and I've taken up enough spotlight for this.
That's okay. FP, go ahead.
Appreciate.
I was just gonna say, it just shows you how connected the sports world is to everything. Really.
Yes.
From sports movies to entertainment to this and that, it's awesome. It really is.
So, okay. Let's see here. Let's. What do you want to start off with? I got a few. Let's start off with Fernando Tatis. 80-game suspension for PED. And it's funny because you kind of say, gee, I mean, 80 games. That's half a season. Then you kind of go back and go, well, gee, does steroids pay? I mean, a lot of these guys who did steroids, they got records that they might not have gotten, and they got these big contracts, and then it's like, oh well. I mean, they don't have to give that money back, do they?
Well, I would like to hear directly from Fernando Tatis Jr. on what his thought process was when he made this decision to take it in order to get back and help his team. So I really.
Well, it was supposedly to fight ringworm now.
Yeah.
The story is ridiculous, and I don't think anyone buys it, but he's sticking to that. But, it apparently was part of a ringworm treatment cure that he didn't check into before he started taking it.
Go ahead.
Which, the story real quick.
Go ahead.
What happened, and it came out from Fernando Tatis Sr., who's also known as a steroid user. I believe he was on the Mitchell Report. What happened was he got a bad haircut, according to his father, and because of some tainted materials or something like that, he's got dreadlocks. Fernando Tatis Jr. He developed ringworm on his head, which is a fungus infection. So he had to take something to get rid of it, and that something had steroids in it. A lot of chemists are coming forward and saying, well, you don't need to take this steroid to get rid of it, so it doesn't make sense. So essentially he's lying to his team. He let down the city of San Diego. He let down the Padres' entire team. I mean, just the quotes from his teammates, they are so unimpressed with him.
Oh, yeah.
They're so over his act. It is absolutely telling the way that President of Baseball Operations and General Manager A.J. Preller came out for the Padres and just crushed him. And we could get into that too a little bit, because I think what they're trying to do is kind of push him out and bring Juan Soto in. They're trying to find a way to get rid of that contract just because there's something shady about his wrist injury with the motorcycle this offseason, how it was a wrist injury supposed to come back in a few months, and all of a sudden it's 6 months now. Like, there's just weird things going on. Apparently he's not working well with the team and reporting his progress with his wrist injury. So, like, there's all these things coming about, and it's just really tugging on this relationship.
Does this remind you of the Melky Cabrera situation where
No word.
It just kind of reminds me where, like, everybody loved Melky, and then he gets caught with the steroids, but then he kind of makes up this website, and I mean, it just kind of went downhill from there. He ended up still getting.
I forgot about that made-up website.
Yeah, he went to great extremes, but as far as baseball stardom and ability, I don't think he's in the same room as Fernando Tatis.
No, I agree. Yeah,
we're talking about. I was trying to think about this like in NBA terms, right? This is like if Ja Morant got popped with steroids and like had to sit out half the season. Like one of the faces of the NBA or the faces of Major League Baseball coming up, young superstar, like that good of an athlete, that big of a potential star. And now his legacy is going to be forever tarnished. And then the ringworm excuse. Oh my goodness. The clever things I'm seeing from Bay Area sports fans and from LA sports fans saying ringworm is the only ring the Padres are going to win. You don't understand that excuse alone is going to just hang with him forever for the rest of his career.
That's tough.
Well, and it's totally torpedoing San Diego. They've lost like 4 out of the last 5 games, I think.
Oh, yeah. There was a horrible play with Jurickson Profar last night where he dogged a ball, and then everybody was fighting in the dugout after that play. It was crazy.
And that's one of the teams that the Giants have to catch, and right now, I mean, the Giants kind of have them in their sights, just kind of trying to run them down.
Hey guys, let's cut to our first commercial trivia question here. We're talking football. 2 NFL teams were named for real people. I was going to give you one, but you know what? I'm going to let you guys come up with both of them. 2, and they're current 2 current NFL teams are named for real people. Yep. Like, you can't have, let's say, Jets is not the Jets are not. Okay. All right. That's our trivia question. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, along with Vern Glenn, FP Santangelo Jr., and Russell Jackman. Our first NFL trivia question. 2 NFL teams were named for real people. Give me both those teams.
I got one.
Okay, go ahead.
The Browns.
That's right. Okay.
Right. Cleveland Browns for Paul Brown.
By Paul Brown.
I'm gonna go because it's named for the industry of this town. The Green Bay Packers for the meat packing.
No, because that's like Mr. Packer. There's no.
You're talking about actual somebody's name.
Name.
Yeah, I mean some like named for a real person. I thought this was pretty good. Okay, can't be the Chargers, can't be the Rams, can't be the Bears.
I mean, the 49ers are people, but they're not.
The Vikings are people.
No, yeah, but that's not a person. You ready?
But no, I'm not ready. No, I'm not
okay,
ready.
We can't take all the airtime. It's a good question, actually. You want to think about that while we go to the next thing? I'll give you. This is
all right. We got to move on, Tom.
We move on.
All right. Yeah. Move on. Hang on.
Okay. All right. So let's see here. Okay. So Bubba Watson resigning from the PGA, joining Mickelson, Dustin Johnson, DeChambeau, and Koepka. And I'm wondering if we're going to see something like when the AFL and NFL rivalry, and then they merged. I wonder if they're going to have something like that. What do you think? I can tell Vern's still thinking.
Money talks. I mean, it could happen. I mean, this is really what this is all about. If they were to merge, you got to come up with. Obviously, the title would be the PGA Tour. The Live label would go because you can't have 54 hole tournaments, or could you? And I don't know. I mean, I'll be curious to see what comes out of the PGA Tour meeting as we tape this show that Tiger Woods is having with some of the top 20 players in the world on the PGA Tour about, hey, look, guys, we got to do something. I mean,
it's basically the Civil War of golf that we have right now. It's golf's version of Civil War.
I would like to see that PowerPoint from Tiger Woods. It's probably a pretty good PowerPoint. But, guys, didn't this happen with the American League and the National League in baseball? And then they came together to form Major League Baseball.
Oh, back in like 1902 or something.
Yeah,
I guess that's true too.
If something happened like that, where the Live Tour has their own rules and have their own tournaments, and then the The National League, which would be the PGA Tour, would have their own rules and tournaments, and then they met for a playoff tournament at the end of the year. The best of the golfers would face off. I think that'd be kind of interesting. That's a way to.
Yeah, because you had was it Joe McCarthy, the manager of the Giants, where he guys says, "I'm not going to play against these Boston Pilgrims. You know, they're not even worth anything."
Getting back to your point, Edward, about the AFL versus the NFL. I mean, similar things are happening. The AFL had their own set of rules where they played the game, and they were overpaying to get the top college guys to sign with the AFL away from the NFL, where it got to the point where it will be a problem. And I think we talked about it before. The first big baby was Joe Namath. Yeah. And the Jets gave him $400,000, and everybody lost their mind. $400,000? You're going to ruin the game. Who's going to pay $400,000 for one
back then? Yeah, for back then, yeah. I mean, the tickets were what, $1.50 or something to go see.
What was it? Was $15 the get-in price for the first AFL NFL World Championship game?
That actually sounds like a lot, but maybe
$15
back then.
Yeah, think about what your pal with the $4 million check could do if he showed up with that $4 million check.
Well, think about it. I guess one way to look at it is, how much are people, earning per hour, right? I remember in the old days making $5,000 a year. I mean, that was a lot as an accountant, let's say. And so my dad, I mean, in 1951, when he graduated, his first job as a CPA was $1 an hour. Okay, so that's $2,000 a year. Well, they actually work more than that. So, but anyway, so if you look at in terms of how many hours you'd have to work to get like a ticket, versus like today, how much would you have to work? If you're making $100,000 a year, that's $50 an hour. I mean, paying a few $1,000s for the first ticket. I mean, it's kind of comparable, isn't it? $15, and then someone pointed out on some comments that the PGA has sponsored 23 sponsors doing $40 billion worth of business with Saudi Arabia. And the guy makes a point. He goes, is the PGA going to suspend them as well?
Yeah, well, you're opening a can of worms right there. I mean, that's we need.
We're all doing business with Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, exactly.
we need them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. Okay, Vern, do you have your answer?
No, I don't. I give up.
Okay. Anyone else on that? Okay. Yes, the Buffalo Bills.
Oh.
Buffalo Bill was a real person. Buffalo Bill.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, it's not a trick question, but that was pretty good.
I always thought it was named after the Buffaloes.
Yeah, after Buffaloes.
Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Right.
Or how do you spell Bills with BILLLLS for the 4 losses in a row that they had?
I mean, that's pretty amazing. And it's funny because the first time that they got in was actually the one that they had the best shot at.
Yes.
The Giants.
They should have won that one.
Norwood, right? He just barely made a field goal. Otherwise, they would have won it. When then next year they just got pretty trounced by Washington. And then 2 years in a row, Dallas.
Oh, the 2 worst Super Bowls. One of the few Super Bowls that I boycotted and didn't watch.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me you didn't see Leon Lett and Don Beebe?
I did. I saw the first one, but the second one I boycotted. I went to my grandmother's house in Rossmore, and nobody was watching the Super Bowl.
You know what? Though you got to hand it to Leon Lett. He's definitely entertaining. I keep thinking about the Thanksgiving.
Don Beebe, right? Don Beebe was
Don Beebe at the last second pops out
down.
But do you remember Thanksgiving against Miami, where it was like it never snows in Dallas, and they do a punt, and it's like nobody touches it, right? And everyone knows not to touch it. And Leon Lett go, I think I'll pick this up, and because of the snow, it just ruins it. Miami wins the game. It was pretty funny, I gotta say.
One thing I'd like to know, because I'm not a born and bred Bay Area person. I'm just wondering how popular and how well pro football was received in this Bay Area market before the 49ers won that first Super Bowl?
I was going to games. I was going to games, back then. My uncle had season's tickets to Candlestick, and boy, it was pretty easy to go to games. My dad would buy one ticket, and he'd usually get tickets for my brother and myself for free, and the stadium was mostly empty. I mean, the O.J. Simpson trade was just absolutely horrible. It just completely gutted the team's hopes and dreams for being anything good, and the reputation of the Niners losing to Dallas when they had a chance to possibly make it to the Super Bowl early in those early years. It's always stung.
What was the bandwagon like back then?
So sort of like
versus, it's just such an all-encompassing thing here in the Bay Area.
Okay, well, it was sort of like the
drive the bus in this market.
It was sort of Vern, it was sort of like the Cubs. It's like you knew they were going to lose, but they were your team and you loved them. I mean, who didn't love Gene Washington?
Right.
John Brody kind of drove me crazy, but I mean,
Jim Plunkett, when Jim Plunkett was quarterback.
Yeah.
I used to see him play for the 49ers.
Well, growing up back east, as far as Gene Washington goes, I mean, the only exposure we had of Gene Washington growing up was seeing Susan St. James wear his jersey on episodes of McMillan and Wife. That was it.
Wow.
That's hilarious. McMillan and Wife. That's a great reference. You win the obscure TV reference award of today, which normally goes to Edward.
She was a hottie back then. She's walking around in a Gene Washington
but I haven't thought about
nothing
McMillan
else.
And Wife and the Sunday mystery movie, right?
That's right. Movie of the week. That's right.
Movie of the week. Yes.
Yep. In the rotation with
flashlight
and
McLeod
and Columbo.
Columbo, yeah.
Now we've totally lost FP. There's no way FP.
I'm sorry, man. Poor FP.
Not a chance he's tracking with any of it. He is flipping around.
Poor FP. He's shaking his head. He goes,
Wikipedia right now, like going, what the hell? McMillan and Wife. McLeod.
Wait, FP, do you even own a television?
Oh yeah, I had
okay, because everyone looks at their smartphones nowadays and stuff.
It's funny, it's funny. I worked in television, still do, and I don't watch TV that much. I tell everybody that. I usually watch something on the internet or YouTube or listen to a podcast. I don't watch TV unless there's live sports. That's the only time I watch it.
You're smart. You're a smart guy for that. Okay, here's our second trivia question: who was the first coach in history? We're talking NFL here, to take their team to win 4 Super Bowls. Who was the first coach in history to take their team to win 4 Super Bowls? All right.
Okay.
That's our trivia question. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back.
You guys go ahead and answer.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, along with FP Santangelo Jr., Vern Glenn, and Russell Jackman. Our second trivia question: who was the first coach in history to take their team to win 4 Super Bowls? We know Vern knows that because he gave the last year.
Well, during the break, I said, was there a trophy named after him? And you guys said no. And I was like, really? The guy that won the first 4?
No, he only won the first 2.
Yeah.
It's Chuck Noll.
Yeah, that's it.
Chuck Noll, right?
What's it? Chuck Noll. That's correct.
Correct.
With the Steelers. Very good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
One of the things
I sometimes I get him confused sometimes with Chuck Knox.
Yeah,
sometimes, get their names mixed up. But Noll is the one from the Steelers.
Chuck Noll. So Dion Sanders came out and says the Hall of Fame ain't the same anymore. He thinks that there should be a special place for him and other starting 11. Thoughts on that? Which is kind of actually, I sort of understand where he's coming from. It's almost the same thing like baseball. It's like let's have the cream of the crop. Like Willie Mays, best center fielder ever. Okay, and then other center fielders make the Hall of Fame. So like Dion Sanders, of course he could probably be 2 of those positions Hall of Fame. But what do you think about that? Because I kind of understand it when certain players, and I can't remember now who, he didn't name any specific ones.
What I like about it, Edward, is that it's guaranteed not to start any arguments at all between any sports fan.
Yeah.
Right.
It's designed with a way to make sure everyone will be satisfied with the results and everyone will agree with who gets selected. And I think that's the perfect idea and wonderful, and everyone will be perfectly happy with it.
Well, I definitely
you got 320 some odd guys in the Hall of Fame, and he does make a point. And I'll just go out and just throw a couple of names out there. I mean, you've got so he wants special colored jackets for the best 11 offensively and the best 11 defensively. Yep. Now, as much as I love Ricky Jackson, who was an outstanding linebacker in the Hall of Fame, yeah, he gets a yellow jacket, but doesn't Dick Butkus get maybe a red one?
Yeah,
same position, but I can't equate Ricky Jackson and Dick Butkus together as linebackers.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, guys. I mean, honestly, I don't really recognize the Baseball Hall of Fame until they let Barry Bonds in. So that's my whole stance with the Baseball Hall of Fame. But even the NFL Hall of Fame or the NBA Hall of Fame, I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like, I don't know. My generation kind of sees it for what it is. And it's kind of a marketing ploy to get people to talk about sports and to give, I guess, a sense of responsibility to writers and give power to the writers to vote these people in. But to me, it's like I think like the players should have their own Hall of Fame, right? So the players vote in other players. So that way it really gives an extra level of respect, or just give them like a percentage of the vote. Because to me, guys that watch the game every single day and dedicate their life and craft to this have the utmost respect, right? And they're not trying to get clicks with, oh, so-and-so left Derek Jeter off the ballot or this or that. It's silly. It's so clickbaity. Clickbaity.
Yeah.
For me, it's just, I don't know. It's kind of fake. Like all the Hall of Fames to me are fake. Like, it's awesome that you're in and yada, yada, yada. I think like retiring your number is like way above the Hall of Fame, because that means in that organization they can never wear your number again and it's hanging on a wall.
Well, they had like
that's a big deal. That is a big deal.
There were writers who wouldn't. I mean, you make a really good point, because there were writers who would not vote for Ted Williams to be in the Hall of Fame because they didn't like that. Yeah, they didn't like him. You know, he wasn't nice to the media, and it's like, come on. Someone like Barry Bonds, you know, he still would have made the Hall of Fame even if he didn't do any of the steroids.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
I don't know what his numbers would have been, but you know, he was still powerful. Because look what he played with the Pirates. You know, he was phenomenal then.
I think what the NBA is doing in retiring Bill Russell's number all throughout the NBA is way higher than any Hall of Fame honor. And that's what we're talking about, like extreme honors. I think that's how you show greatness, is like, this is reserved because this is so great. And then kids can ask why. Why is why are those numbers up there? Dad, Mom, why this number? And then you start the discussion, well, he was a great player.
Right.
It doesn't work for wrestling, though. You can't retire any numbers in wrestling, so the Wrestling Hall of Fame still has to.
That's true, Russ.
Hey, speaking of Hall of Fame, I just finished watching.
You retire somebody's trunks or boots. You retire, a boot style or a trunk style or hairstyle for wrestlers.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Bert.
Just getting back to FP's point about Hall of Fame, and he brought up Derek Jeter. I just finished watching The Captain, the 7-part series on Derek Jeter. Who was the one guy that didn't vote for Derek Jeter? And does anybody know who this guy is?
No.
I don't know.
They just want to be the stickler, you know? I mean, there's some people who they won't there are some writers, I understand, who will not vote for someone on the first ballot just because. And so I remember when I was taking my driver's test, and for at age 16, someone had told me, you better hope you don't get Mr. Jones or whatever his name was.
Oh, the hanging judge.
The hanging, basically. It's like,
right,
no matter how well you do on your test, he's going to fail you just because he doesn't want any 16-year-olds like on their first try. And it's like, Man,
Wow.
I mean, you done me wrong when you done that. But I mean, fortunately,
Right.
I got it. And it's so funny too because the guy said I got like a 98, and when he pointed out the mistakes, I actually realized he was wrong, but I wasn't going to correct him. And he got my name wrong also. He called me by my middle name, and I go, you know what, Edward, just don't correct him. Just get the certificate and be on your way. You know. It's like,
Nushler, Brown, Nushler,
Nushler.
Nushler.
Bueller.
Hey, by the way, as I'm just doing it. Anybody been unanimous? Baseball Hall of Fame?
Yeah, there has been.
Who's been unanimous?
Unanimous. Let me look it up real quick, but there has been somebody Hall of Fame.
If there is, got to be.
I mean, not going back to 1936 when they started.
Oh, Mariano Rivera is the first unanimous.
He was unanimous. Okay. All right. Wow.
Yeah.
One guy.
Yeah. And it's funny because, he didn't he give up the – was it – yeah, it was against –
2001 World Series, Luis Gonzalez. He gave it up.
Yeah. Yep. And that's tough.
Infield in. Crazy. That was a crazy postseason.
Yeah. And that's
You know what I think is interesting from watching the captain, and by the way, I recommend it if you haven't seen it. What bothers Derek Jeter today or the World Series that they didn't win?
Oh yeah, I can imagine that.
Absolutely.
How many did he lose? I know he lost with against the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Lost at least 3, I think.
I think they lost the Diamondbacks and they lost to Boston in the ALCS. I think they lost a lot in the ALCS.
Well, did they lose to
Florida?
Miami?
Yeah, Miami.
They lost to Miami too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, I don't know. To me, they're still the Florida Marlins. It's just.
I know they got to do something.
Like
then I think they were then the Florida Marlins.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were the Florida Marlins. That roster's so stacked. If you look at that Florida Marlins team, you're like, oh my goodness.
And
then they stripped, and then they win it, and then they stripped the team.
Yeah.
Silly.
And now, in fact, that was the one that they beat the Giants to get in.
Yep.
Wasn't it? Yeah. Because Giants had a really good team then too.
Mm-hmm.
They could have done it. It looks like, Russell, we lost you, and then we got back, huh?
Yeah, I'm back. I was just waiting for.
I know what I was going to say about the Hall of Fame, especially in football. Anybody who says, well, his team, he was never on a winning team, is irrelevant because it's not a one-man team.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like a good example is Dick Butkus, right? He was always on terrible teams with the Bears.
Yeah, could not win. Nope.
Playoffs, but they're definitely a Hall of Famer. But there's some people who just kind of, I don't know. I tell you, I got to say that Dion Sanders was one of those guys where it's like you just loved when he just came on the field because you knew something was going to happen.
Well, I mean that's his point. He was a game changer.
Yeah.
There's only been a handful of game changers that are in that Hall of Fame.
And don't you love where he plays in the World Series and he has to bounce back and forth? I mean, that's just crazy.
Great athlete, man.
Loved him as a 49er, hated his guts as a Dallas Cowboy.
No, I didn't hate him when he went to Dallas. Just,
I did.
It's amazing how fast he is. He's probably still fast,
Hey, man, he was making a business decision.
Business decision. Well,
right.
Again, it's never have I loved one player one season and hated them so much in the next season.
Oh, hate's a strong word.
I bet you felt that way about Johnny Unitas when he went from the Colts to the Chargers, huh?
The one season?
At the very end. Well, I was going to say, you can't say that about Willie because he came from New York and then kind of went back to New York,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
How's he doing anyway? I mean,
Willie Mays?
He's not great. His eyesight is poor. Yeah. His hearing is down. So he definitely has slowed down. Doesn't get out much, but
90, isn't he?
The few times he does, he lights it up. The crowd loves him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying, I hope they bring him out to the park every once in a while, for something.
Yeah. He wasn't there for Will Clark, but he sent a video message, which was pretty cool. So.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah, and on May 5th when he had his birthday, I mean, they always make a big deal out of that.
Oh, it's a holiday in the Bay Area, I say. I mean, that guy really like instilled greatness in baseball here in the Bay Area. If there's no Willie Mays, I don't think there's really no love for baseball. That's like, talk about star power or the lack thereof that the Giants have right now. Imagine having Willie Mays to watch here in the Bay Area and a team coming for New York with Willie Mays. Oh my goodness, you would have been like, "This is candy! Like this, I'm not kidding for it. This is amazing."
Well,
every time he was joking around, he would call me Pee Wee. I'd be like, "Man, Willie Mays, he gave me a nickname."
Well, I tell you,
but when he was serious, he would call me Vernon. Vernon.
Yeah, and that's actually your middle name.
Correct. Junior. Correct. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I tell you, and Russell, I mean, you're old enough to watch Willie Mays play, weren't you?
Very, very little, like the very end.
Very end. Oh man, I tell you, it was just. I still remember him. Extra innings, hitting a home run against the Phillies to when it it was just a regular game, but. I don't know, just watching Willie, and I loved Bobby Bonds. A lot of people just didn't like, just thought he was awesome.
Yeah, he was. It was cool when he was on Dusty Baker's coaching staff. We'd have him on Cron all the time. He was just he was a cool hang. Now when he was playing, I don't know. So
well, again, just watching him though, again, one of those guys. It's like you paid attention to the TV. You
right.
Want to see what he's doing.
I tell you what about Willie Mays real quick. I've had the honor of talking with him, meeting him, seeing him hang out in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
One of the best crap talkers of all time. He'll pull over a rookie and just rattle him. I like to do this and like just go lay into him. It's the best.
It's amazing how intelligent he was as a player. Studying the game and all that with the stories. Hey, heading to our third trivia question. Which quarterback enjoyed a 5-year run quarterbacking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, first black quarterback to throw for over 3,000 yards in a season? This is an easy one. 1987 was the first black quarterback to start a Super Bowl game. Won the Super Bowl MVP too. Who are we talking about?
Right? And a reporter once famously asked him in a group session, "How long have you been a black quarterback?"
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Stay with us, Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with F.P. Santangelo Jr., Vernon Glenn, and Russell Jackman. Third trivia question. This gentleman enjoyed a 5-year run quarterbacking Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he was the first black quarterback to throw for over 3,000 yards in a season. In 1987, first black quarterback to start a Super Bowl game, and he won the Super Bowl MVP that year too. Who was that?
That would be Doug Williams.
Doug Williams, yeah.
Is he still coaching Grambling State?
Let me check.
That's a good question. Yeah, that's right. He was, wasn't he?
Yeah. I'm not sure if he's a current coach or not.
He went to stardom, and then he just kind of sort of faded after a while. I don't know.
Don't they all?
Not there anymore, but
no.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys ready for our thoughts today? We have to cut off the short this time because the last one went over a little bit. Okay,
let's go, Daddy.
Go, Daddy. That's right. What do you call a fake noodle?
An imposter.
Yes.
An imposter.
Impasta. Very good.
Burn got it.
Yeah, that's always good. Okay. Now this was not a riddle per se, but okay. So Albert Einstein said, "Women always worry about things that men forget. Men always worry about things women remember." Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
And Mr. FP, when you get married, you'll find that out for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I'm engaged right now. I'm hearing all the horror stories.
Yeah. I know. It's funny. I still hear things that happened like 40 years ago.
Oh my!
Like I remember. It's like I don't remember this thing. It never happened. It wasn't the other dude did it. It wasn't me. All right. Tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and asking more sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Good night, America.
Oh.